you had another good march today and a pretty good turnout. I want to talk to you about some things that actually bother me personally a lot that I think this crowd can resonate with. How many of you think right now at the Washington level and at the Sacramento level, right, that we have the finest government money can buy? Yeah. Do you agree? Do you agree? Come on now, you may not like them, but are they not the finest government money can buy?
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay. So, you know, it's kind of interesting because we love democracy and one person, one vote. By the way, who in this audience has voted in this current election that's going on right now? Let me see a show of hands. Oh, now look, now y'all cannot get out here and come on and protest the government and not vote. That's part of this job, right? You have to vote. That is part of the mission. Yeah, okay. Who's here is registered and didn't vote?
More than one political party.
Oh, okay. So a couple of things. One is, do you agree that the Citizens United decision in 2009, thanks to the Roberts Court, was one of the worst things that ever happened to this country? Why was it the worst thing that ever happened? Why?
Corporations are not people.
Exactly. Not only that. That's right. That means any corporation, and by the way, any country, can pump an unlimited amount of money into a presidential or congressional election and help elect the next president, the next Congress. How are you going to feel when China helps elect our next Congress? Exactly. What kind of policy do you think we're likely to get out of that? Do you think we're likely to get something that's favorable to us as Americans, right? Do you think?
Cheap products.
What do you think it's like when corporations help elect presidents and elect Congress people? Do you think that you get regulation that works for the American people, or do you think that they get the votes that they wanted? How do you think it works? I got to tell you, I used to work in corporate America. I've seen how it goes. They used to have PACs they used to ask us as employees to contribute to help elect candidates that would be favorable to our companies. And I used to think, when I was 20-something, I was like, well, this seems kind of strange. Why are we doing that? Isn't it one person, one vote? Why are we as a company trying to elect a candidate? Why? Because we wanted all the regulations and the legislations to go our way. And sometimes going our way meant shipping jobs to India or China or Russia. Was that good for the American people? No, but it was awfully good for some corporate bottom lines, right? So one of the things you got to always remember is our system is founded on a combination of what? Greek democracy and Roman Republic, right? That's our system. Is it not?
Nope.
Did you not notice that both of those failed? You know, the Greeks actually went into decline around 100 BC and died. Now, they were admittedly city-states, so it's a lot easier to do one person, one vote when all you're dealing with is a city, right? That's a lot easier. When you're talking about 300 million people, it's a little harder. But the Roman Republic, what killed the Roman Republic? Do you remember? Remember your history? Overextension militarily and greed. That's what did them in. Yeah? What do you think's doing us in? What's doing us in?
Same thing.
All right, so there's a couple of answers to this, and I've seen some of the materials out here today, and it makes me happy to see it. One of the first things you got to do, I used to work for a group called Common Cause. Anybody ever heard of them? Yes. Okay, and that's a group that's a watchdog group that tries to get fair representation, open and transparent government, right? And reduce the influence of big money in politics. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? Campaign contribution limits, and we have to find some way to legislate over or reverse Citizens United. That's the only way we're going to turn this around, right? The only way we're going to turn this around. So you have to do campaign contribution limits to make sure that candidates are widely viable and are supported by a large group of people and not funded by one or two special interests. You ever heard of an organization called maplight.org? Ever heard of them? Okay, everybody write this one down. Maplight.org. Go and look at this tonight.
How do you spell it?
Maplight is MAPLIGHT.org. Go look at that website tonight. You can go and see, for every congressional vote taken, who made contributions leading right up to the vote, and what was the piece of legislation that was being voted on. And then you can see how your congresspeople and your senators voted. And you will see there is pretty much a one-to-one correlation. Money came in, the vote went that way.
Wow.
Finest government money can buy, folks. That's what we're into. Now let me see a show of hands again of registered voters. Let me see you. Registered, 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 registered. And then who actually voted in this election? Okay, who voted in 2010? Who voted in the 2010 midterms? Okay, you guys, here's part of it. You've got to participate. You've got to participate. And if you can't be a watchdog, then you have to vote. And if you still don't think that's enough, then you have to run for office yourselves. That is the only way you get the kind of government that you want. Let me tell you what, I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, you know, I think I'm just going to run for office. How do most people end up running for office? Average citizens, how do they do it? What makes them do it? They get fed up with the way things are. and they think maybe we can make a difference. We could do something different. I know that's why Cruzito's running. It's why I'm running. It's not like we just decided we're going to go into a political dynasty. I know some people do make decisions that way, that they make the decision to run and then they want to stay in office for the rest of their lives. But most of us average citizens that are just running for city council or school board or county, we're doing it because we woke up and we said, wow, things are not going well. This is not going well, and the average citizen is not being heard. And I'm an average citizen. Maybe I can get up there and do something different. And then what happens to you when you get into a race? Do you know? Do you know what happens right away?
Need money.
Got to raise money. How much does it cost to get a congressional seat? Do you know? At least $2 million. $2 million. $2 million. And who do you think funds those races? Yeah, because they can, right? Do you know how much money it costs to win an assembly seat? Just a little California assembly seat. It was over $700,000 to get the last assemblyman elected in this district. How much did it cost for the presidency? Anybody remember? $400 million. Guys, this is big money in politics. This is what it does, and it gets you the government that you've got. The government that has no problem passing regulations that do everything possible to hurt the rest of us. This used to be the greatest country on earth, did it not? No. Did it not? Come on. Come on, think about it. Those of you especially that were around in the late 60s, you remember when America was kind of in its zenith? By the way, I was born then, so I don't really remember this, but I know it because my parents told me this. They were putting men on the moon. People had new cars, new houses, jobs were plentiful. There was a lot of new schools being built. The schools were considered fine. In California in particular. What happened in California in the 50s and 60s? Who remembers? Who knows? Do you remember that Pat Brown decided that we were going to dominate in agriculture and he got the aqueduct built through the middle of the state? Do you remember that he wanted the college education to be free for any California kid that wanted it? And that it would be on a par with the East Coast schools? Do you remember this? This is how the UCal system came about. Do you remember, too, that we were going to have the finest highways and we were going to have great feeder schools to go into those universities? What's going on in our state today? What's going on in our state today? Do you know that unemployment in the valley is at like 40%? Because the wells have been shut down and the farm workers are out of a job? Do you know that? If you drive through the valley today, do you know what you'll see? You'll see signs that say Congress created dust bowls. They're actually not quite right. It was a federal judge that created them. Congress didn't actually do this one. I can't blame them on, I'd love to, but I can't give them the blame on this one. But they put Bakersfield unemployment at around 40 to 50%. Our state has one of the highest unemployment rates in the entire nation. And we're the golden state. Anything's supposed to be possible here, right? That's why we're California. Our kids are paying through the nose to go to UCal schools that we built 40 and 50 years ago to rival the East Coast schools. And yet, you guys, my daughter's going to go to school in Texas because we can't afford it here, even though we're in-state California residents. What happened? What happened? Finest government money can buy. So if you want to change it, and you do, I can tell, that's why you're in occupysb. There's stuff you have to do. One of the first things you have to do is you have to help pass legislation that will limit the influence of big money in politics. You have to get the Citizens United decision reversed, overturned, or have legislation that supersedes it. And you know what else you have to do? You have to vote, and you have to be active and watchdog. And it's not fun, trust me, I know. It's not fun to watch what they do. But here's the deal. It's the internet age, it's the TV age. We actually can watch them now, right? We can. And you have to hold power accountable for what it does. You have to do that. That's what you guys are trying to do here. You're trying to hold power accountable. Yes?
We are.
Yes. So you have to keep doing that. You have to make sure that you vote, and you vote hard in every election. Every election. I don't care how little it is. And you know what else you have to do? You have to run for office yourselves. It's us. It's us, the people. We the people, right? Okay, so we have to do that ourselves, all right? I think you got some questions? Yeah, it's fine.